Okay, well, I'm hopefully back. I think what's happening is I did not prime anything before deploying this, and my connection is slow enough, excuse me, that downloading all this stuff is causing a poor stream connection that caused a disconnect. Not sure if anybody's still there, but I will be back at it, and I'll let this go, and maybe we'll take it easy. I don't know, we can take it easy, actually do the build, and it's just going slowly. Like super slowly. I think I ran a speed test and I'm getting maybe 3 or 4 down. And yeah, thanks, John, for the confirmation there. So we're going to let this run. I'm going to do my best to stick around, but I probably should have done this part in advance. Apologies for that. With any luck, the stream doesn't go down again. Maybe I have just reduced bit rate for a little bit, but you can see we've got a ways to go because I have a crappy connection. So we will try our best to catch up. If I go down again, maybe that would be an opportunity for me to do some of the secrets config stuff that I was about to do. So we have, where we left off is we were going to fix this admin URL path token, and I guess we're also looking to see if there is no other use of this email SendGrid reply to. I think that must have been just from my homeschool application, and I maybe just copied it over without thinking. So let's check on Heroku. I think that was the next step. Or, well, first we can go to the homeschool app and open up NeoVim and check on email. Nope, come on. Or you know what it was? I think I remember now. I think it was a setting that I used to use for Journey Inbox, and then I had to change it because I needed a per user reply to it email address. I'm pretty positive that just not using it anymore. So I think we can get rid of this one. Let's just do that, assume that. Is it still going? Maybe not receiving enough video to maintain smooth stream. I'm sorry, y'all. It should hopefully recover once this chunk is done. Anyway, we're gonna let that continue to spam us with messages, and I'm gonna look at one password and see if it's got the right name now. Yeah, that's probably the next thing. So I'm going to put this on secrets mode. Maybe that actually will be black screen. So I'm sending down less data, or sending up less data, so that you can have just my audio for a minute and black, and maybe that'll make that easier for my internet. But I'm going to open one password, and I'm switching to the Journey Inbox Vault, and I'm looking at the server, and on okay, so I think it was just me mistyping it last time, because on 1Password it is also called the admin URL path token. So that's good news. And then the email field is not even in here, so I didn't carry that over. So yeah, I don't know why I even put that in last time we did this stream. So I think it's safe to bring this back now. I think that would have been it. So what am I anticipating is where we're going next. Let me make sure. I'm going to stare at one of these numbers, see if it's actually incrementing. It is. We got 17, 20. These are working. So I think what's happening is that this node image just has a lot of layers to it, and it's expecting a lot of data. And man, heck, I could run the speed test for, that's boring. You don't need to see the speed test results. They were slow. So we'll let that carry on. So we have our updated secrets. That's good there. Let's open up another tab. so we can see our changes. And I think that should correct everything there. That will probably cause another problem from this deploy once it's ready, but I don't want to interrupt this. I want to let it get all of the bytes that are needed. Looks like it got another chunk. We're getting down to the last couple chunks here. So this 23 chunk is done. Oh, good. Now it can focus all of its energy on this last image layer that's on that. And unless it starts up another layer, which it may, who knows? Or maybe there were two of them. There's a 202 layer. This is where the downside of Docker is that if you don't have these layers cached, the way Docker works, if you're not familiar, is every time you build an image, it sets down a set of like bytes. And the bytes represent kind of a snapshot point in time of a file system, essentially. And when you build another image, what happens is Docker has a bunch of stuff to try and figure out what's changed between the previous version and the next version, and just adds like a layer of differences on top of that. And then when the whole thing is all built in together, what ultimately runs is like Docker gets a viewpoint that kind of looks through and it was able to like look at all of the layers as one thing, as one unit. So what happens when we download Docker images is it has to pull each of these layers so it can make that layer stack of data to get the full picture of what's going on. And it just means that if you don't do your stuff well, or if you have just a lot of stuff to build in there, which is super common with JavaScript stuff, that you deal with a lot of data. Let's see if this is, yeah, it's still super choppy. Jeez. So at least, is the audio okay? I don't know. Can you hear me okay? That would be better than nothing. So once this is finished, it should, and this is not my code yet. This is the, in fact, this is not even the tools, or this is not even the Python stuff. This is the Node.js image, and the Node.js image will be used to build the CSS files using Tailwind CSS. So it's a separate image that we can actually take a look at that. That's something we can do. I might as well explain what's going on in this mess. So we've got the Docker file where we built stuff, and I explained that we have a multi-stage build. So we have this top section here is one set of instructions. It starts with that from line, and then we've got another section that starts with this other from line. So currently what Docker is doing is just trying to handle this very first line of pulling down the latest Node 22 image. The other aspect of this that is worth highlighting is that we actually have two images that we have to build for. So because I'm on an M2, an Apple M2 chip, I think it's M2. Is it M2 or M1? Ooh, now I don't remember. It's an M1, sorry. An M1 is a different architecture than x86. And so this AMD 64, that represents an x86 with a 64-bit extension set. That's one architecture that it's building for. And then in order to have a workable Docker image, we have the ARM64 for the M1 chip. What we will deploy to the Linux environment is actually this guy, this AMD 64, because that's what it is. And then if we want to test stuff locally, we're going to have this ARM64. So I suspect that because I think when I did a build for a different app, well, maybe I don't have any of these things. It might be looking for all of this image stuff for both AMD 64 and ARM 64. Actually, you can see right there, we're doing the AMD stuff and the ARM stuff. Oh, cool. Are we done? How's the bit rate? Is that up at all? Maybe not. I might have like nuked my router. My router, I think, is overwhelmed with there's too much data. So we might have a crappy bit rate here. Or it might just be gone again. I'm just gonna, well, I remember that lying sometimes, so I'm gonna assume that it's there. and we'll keep going. So let's go. It downloaded all the data. Now, thankfully, that part will be cached for future usage. So it continued to build the image, and then it marched along, and ultimately, one of these last steps, after everything will run, it should have pushed up, and it seems to be that it's exporting the image currently right now. So early on, it in the configuration file logged into the Docker GitHub the Docker Hub registry using the Kamal registry, and at this stage, it is now exporting that image up to the registry, and we can see from the network traffic here that it is sending bytes, not a lot, so it's going pretty slowly. Now, thankfully, the image size should not be that big, so I don't know. We'll see how long that takes. This is how long networks are annoying when they're too far away. I need some repeaters or something for this house. And I don't think that there's a whole lot I can do until this is finished. So here's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to take a pause, and I will return at, let's see, how about 10 minutes? I'm going to pause, and I'll come back after this is hopefully exported up to the hub. Okay, I'm back. This finished a little earlier than I thought it might, which is good. So let's take a look at what happened. We got through all the layer stuff, and it exported. All of the exporting was done successfully. So we built our image. We knew that the image was going to build because we did that a while ago, but we built an image and we're able to upload that image, and maybe it uploaded both of them. I don't know. I don't know if it did both M1 or AMD64 and ARM stuff. We could probably check that on Docker Hub if we wanted. And then it started the Kamal process of trying to, remember the whole purpose of this was actually trying to get the machine going on the other side. So it executed some commands here to get this completed. And so it tried to pull, it made sure that the image, if there was a previous version of this image, that was gone. And then it was pulling down the new image on that machine. And you can tell the network on my actual machine on the other side is way faster than this home network here, because it was able to pull down that whole image in nearly 9 seconds, I guess. So it tries to start all of that up. It does a bunch of stuff, as you can see here, that are Docker commands. I don't really think we need to go over all of them. This is kind of the cool part about Kamal, though, is that you can inspect each of these and see what they're doing. And essentially, it's doing everything it can to get this up and running, and also get this connected to the right new domain name and registering all of that. What I don't know is if it was successful in that part, although it might have been, because the configuration of this is that Kamal puts a specific thing in front of everything called Kamal proxy, so that my application is actually talking to Kamal proxy and then talking to the app. But it didn't even get that far, because what happened is we hit a setting that we did not have. So first, there's a warning of, hey, I don't have a database URL. So that's one problem. And then also we had this named wrong, so it logically failed on that part too. So none of this is going to work. It's going to, I think we'll see it multiple times, because what's happening is Kamal is trying to restart this container over and over again, giving it a chance to recover. That is configurable, but it's some number of times. I don't remember how many. But eventually it'll just give up and say, like, you know what? I can't do it. Here's the logs. See you later. And so that's what happens at the end, where we're not successful getting that going. So it fails because, well, nothing. There were no targets that became healthy. So we got to go fix some stuff. The one thing that we can fix right away, or that we did fix already, is the actual change to the secrets, cleaning that up. So we can commit that and say fix fix incorrect. What is going on? Why is this going so slowly? Incorrect secrets name. And let's close that tab. The other bit of this. All right, so what else should we do next? I was thinking about this actually. Well, I need something to contrast with. So in this application, you can see I created this DB directory thing. And then if we go over to the settings, I have configured, where'd it go? There it is. I configured the engine and then specified the name and then all of these options. No, okay, I need to do this because of the options. Okay, never mind. I was about to say we're going to have to pull the database data down from the production machine, and in order to do that, we're going to have to monkey around with the database URL, but also this configuration. Right now, the current app settings, we go over to the settings, we go to the database section, it's going to be referring to the DJ database URL stuff, which is in the environment example, maps to this database URL. And these settings aren't going to be what we want anymore. So what I want to do, because it's not going to work on Kamal, it's just not going to work at all with this stuff, because we don't have a database URL set in our secrets. It's going to blow up here and being like, what are you talking about? I don't have these things. So let's do this. Let's follow all of this stuff, and I can explain. I'll explain what those things mean. So we're going to have this configuration for databases, and we will turn this stuff off, and that's probably going to mean that this import is no longer there. So save that, goes away. So we've got this old configuration. We're going to keep that, or actually, okay. I'm going to comment it out because we're going to need it for something else. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll just have it commented out. Not great, but it's just temporary. Just enough to actually do the migration from the old system to the new. So we will have this new configuration, and it's going to try to find a database directory variable. And if it doesn't, it's going to use the base directory for the application and store a SQLite database there. And the base directory is like the root of the project. So the current directory of the settings, parent of that, and the parent of that. So the parent, it's going to the file, the parent is this project directory, and then the parent of that directory is the root of the repository. So that's our base directory. So that's not super interesting necessarily, but we are hard coding this. Yep, there is another piece of information that we need to pull from the testing settings, where we need to use an in-memory stuff over here. So we're going to take this as well, and then we're going to put that in our settings, testing settings. Well, it looks like we already have that. So I think this will just be a little bit more accurate in that it still will be an in-memory database, but we're adding these options in so that it matches up with production more. So delete that. Now we've got this new options section. Okay, so let's actually talk about these options. What are these things? I'm switching to SQLite. So I was using Postgres, and we're going to use SQLite. And SQLite, when configured well, should be able to handle the traffic that we need. There's actually more that I'm going to need to put in here later, but we're not going to do that today. There's other configuration optimizations that I have not included yet that will help improve the resiliency of this database, but this is like a minimum set that's going to be helpful. This first one is this init command. And the init command from the Django documentation, I think, is like the command these are SQL commands. That's what's showing up in this string here that you want to send to the database when Django connects to it. Django will attempt to open the database file. It's a file that will live on the actual machine. And when it starts, it's going to issue these commands. This is a command that truly only needs to be set one time, but it's not harmful to have it set multiple times. So just to keep it for the consistency, because there will be some of these commands that do need to be set every time, I'm just going to put them all in one section. So we have this init command that runs. So what is this stuff? This pragma journal mode. The way SQLite is a very robust database and really strives for backwards compatibility. And the default mode of the database is a different kind of mode. And I think the value you would see if you figured out a pragma is kind of like a internal configuration option for a database. And so this is essentially the pragma name is journal mode, and the value I think you'd see is delete on the default one. So instead, we're going to use the wall mode, and wall stands for write ahead log, and it's just a different way of writing data to the SQLite database that is more efficient and can greatly increase your throughput. So that's really critical if you're going to use SQLite for anything serious. The other thing that we're going to do is switch this transaction mode to be immediate. And there were some pretty technical reasons for why that is. Essentially, it's trying to commit as soon as it can, rather than batching up a commit and then potentially running into a problem if there are multiple people writing to the SQLite database at the same time. Because this is the challenge with SQLite, is that it can have write contention because it's only meant to have a single writer. The wall mode helps with that. There's another setting that will help alleviate some of that too, related to like a timeout that you can add. Because essentially, if like you have two people writing to the data, trying to write to the database at the same time, one is going there's no way it's going to happen at the exact same moment. So one of them is going to essentially get the write lock. There's a bunch of locks that are in there, but ultimately there's an exclusive lock that that one writer will have and say, it's my turn to write to the database. Nobody else is allowed to write. And by default, SQLite, with its configuration, if that lock is being held and anybody else tries to write to it, will immediately give an error because there's no timeout set for something. There is a particular timeout that we can add that says, hey, if somebody else is writing, just wait for a little while. Don't immediately fail. Like, give them a bit of time. We're going to give it something like 5 seconds, which most of these writes will happen very fast. So the idea will be, if two people are trying to write to the database and one has the lock and the other one comes at the same time, then as soon as that one is done and gets out, there will be one that's kind of in queue waiting to go. So that has not been configured yet, but that'll be in a future session for adding this. There's some other little optimizations that I need to add as well, but that's what's going on here. So we've got this database directory, and we've got that configured for Kamal. So this should be everything that's needed there. I think that should be enough to get this going. Now, hopefully, there's not too many changes here. In fact, let's run the test first to make sure that our test configuration is still right. Oops, nope, something's wrong. Init command is an invalid keyword for connection. What are you talking about? That's not true. That is not true. What? Because I totally have this on a different. What? I'm glad I tried this. Set up databases. We are going to use that in-memory database. We're definitely using the SQLite backend. I copied this from another project. So what's going on? Well, let's go to the internet, shall we? Oh, come on. Copy. No. It's not. That's just Control C, Matt. That's not going to work. Copy. And paste. What are you talking about? Simply change. Look at this recommendation. That's crazy. Change your engine to MySQL. No, this is not the right answer. That is a bonkers suggestion. Okay, so that's a garbage answer. Why are you doing this? I don't know. That's something. Don't go there. Probably some copycat website. Okay. Let's see if the homeschool app can do this. It should be able to. So let's try running make test over here. You can see it's like the exact same database config. So that's super weird. Got this saved. We've got the default engine set to DB SQLite 3. It's set for in-memory init command. Wow. Well, I'm pretty puzzled. Okay. Let's stare at one of these a little bit more closely, I guess. Where are we? We are in the Django database setup fixture. Setup database. On the okay, there's an off chance that this is no, even if it was, I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? It's not trying to use any other database. We don't have any other kind of database URL. That doesn't make any sense. This is definitely the right backend, right? We literally, I don't know, we literally copied this from this file. So I don't know how this could be any more correct, because I know that this code, without a doubt, is running. So there's got to be something different, right? Maybe I'm using a different version, something. Let's check it out. Which version of Django am I on? Maybe I'm behind on my Django version. And so let's go to my project, Kamal. We've got Django 5.7 here. Which version are we on over here? Django 5.1. All right. So let's try and do UV. How do we do an upgrade? Oh, this is a good question. UV add. There's like, is there an upgrade option? Boop, boop, boop. Upgrade. Allow package upgrades, ignoring pinned versions. So UV add capital U Django. Is that gonna work? Oh, what did you just do? You just upgraded way more stuff than I wanted. No, no, no. No, no, no. No. Stop that. So that was not the command I thought it was going to be. What was I looking for? Let's look at the UV add help again. This time we'll just type it to less. So we've got our options. There are result. Oh, we didn't want upgrade. Oh, allow package upgrades. We wanted upgrade package -p. Okay. Fine. Huh? Isn't that what I just did? Getting confused, y'all. Package. I gave it a specific package after that. All right. Come on, ChatGPT, help me out here. Or you know what? It's probably something. I'm probably doing something very dumb. I don't need to do this. I could just say 5.1, right? Now, by running make test again, it's going to go get the new version of Django. Okay, sorry y'all. I think the network thing really threw me for a loop tonight. Bobbin, thanks for joining in. Bobbin Row. Appreciate the subscribe. Again, slow network stuff. Let's see if it fails. Maybe because that was like really the only thing I could think that's different. Okay. Wow. So Django 5 did not support the init command thing. I totally forgot that was a Django 5.1 thing. Okay, well, that's good because we were about to try to deploy that and it just wasn't going to work. This is why you run tests. Neat. So let's update all this stuff. And we'll say upgrade to Django 5.1. Does more than that, but that's fine. Okay, so now let's try and do, well, it's okay. So we didn't successfully get all the setup done. I think what we have to do is rerun Kamal setup because we're like, because after you have it set up, you're supposed to be able to do Kamal deploy, and that's just like updating your application. But here in this context, Kamal setup didn't work. So I think that we need to do that. Before I do that though, I want to check out and see if it actually ran the pre-configuration that I expected to. So we're going to use Kamal SSH, which should take us directly into our host, and then we'll check the var directory. And so we'll see we've got check ls-al var db. Okay, so good. It did create, this was important. This is going to be important. So we've got this app thing here. So the host machine, the var db directory, that's what we're looking at, is owned by the app user. And the Docker container is going to be run with the app user. And the one piece that we have to connect them in the config file, we do a volume mount that mounts the host path to the same path in the Docker container. And this is important to make sure that the data persists. So when we actually get Kamal, see if it's all working, is that there will be the creation of a database directory. Well, the database directory is already there. You already saw it. There will be the creation of a database file that will be populated in that area. So let's try running Kamal setup and see how far we get. Hopefully it doesn't have to download the whole world again because we've already cached all those images. It will have to rebuild some layers, but it shouldn't be nearly as much. So we're going to hopefully also get past authorize that. to go get the necessary secrets. It's going to log into the registry as the first step, and it did that with the Kamal registry password that was in that config file. And it did that. So now we're going into this. A lot of this stuff is now cached. Good. So we should only get to this step down here, which just makes sense. It's stopping on this step because all the packages with the new version of Django. So it did that step, and then everything after it has to do that again. The other part about this is that we've also gone through the whole process of doing an initial export up to the registry. So the first time we did the registry export, the image itself, I don't remember if I think it's less than 200 megabytes, our final image. I don't remember the exact total size. But you can see, well, actually, you haven't seen it yet. So there will be far less data to push up to the registry, because just like I described that the Node.js Docker image had multiple layers, the same thing is true of my app here, where it's going to be multiple layers. And so all that Docker has to